About 1% of the global CO2 emissions stems from mining. About 25% of that 1% stems from drilling, loading, and hauling. That means, in total, about 92 million tons of CO2 emissions, or an equivalent of 38 million fossil fuel-powered cars yearly. When we talk about reducing these emissions, we tend to focus a lot on electrification. Electrification is very important, don't get me wrong, but we must not forget to leverage the technology already existing today to drive these numbers down. Using the very best rock tools that generates the longest service life, the fastest drilling operations, and the straightest hole is an excellent way to ensure sustainable and productive drilling, loading, and hauling.
We currently focus to greatly improve our circularity or recycling of our cemented carbides. Even if a drill bit has become dull, there is still good cemented carbide left in it that can be used to create new carbide. By developing technology for local extraction of the carbide inserts from the steel body, we can avoid 90% of the transport cost and emissions from the return flow, while at the same time we generate job opportunities in the local communities around the mine. A true win-win-win situation for society, our customers, and ourselves. Together with Sandvik Machining Solutions, we're developing a new recycling process that will improve the quality of the recycled carbide to the same level as virgin. We estimate, under the assumption of use of clean energy, that using recycled carbides can reduce the carbon footprint from cemented carbide insert production by as much as 60 to 70%. So by fully adopting recycled carbide, we could further reduce our CO2 footprint by 2,300 fossil fuel-powered cars.
In practice, this means developing the tools and services that generates the longest service life, the fastest penetration rate, and the straightest holes. Longer service life means less steel and less cemented carbide per meter drilled, lower cost and less impact on the environment. Higher penetration rate means less energy consumed per meter drilled, lower cost and less impact on the environment. Straighter holes means better fragmentation rate, less over and underbreak, and better advance rates. Less energy consumed downstreams, less material moved, and more tunnel produced per blast. Lower cost and less impact on the environment. To exemplify, in a surface mine we introduced our charger bits, equipped with the latest power carbide and an aggressive cutting structure. The charger bearing technology, in combination with a cutting structure, gave an increase of penetration rate of about 35%. And in combination with the power carbide, we achieved an increase in service life of about 200%. Considering the fuel savings alone, this equated to a productivity improvement worth roughly $2.8 million yearly. Assuming this site being drilling constrained, this could equate to an additional output of metal worth about $57 million a year. At the same time, the atmosphere is spared from the CO2 emissions equivalent to about 3,500 fossil fuel powered cars. Basically, CO2 emissions converted into bottom line profit. Simply put, we cannot afford to avoid focusing on sustainability, neither from a short-term gain point of view, nor from a survival of the planet point of view. In order to fulfill the Paris Agreement and keep global warming well below the stipulated 2 degrees Celsius target, we need to basically cut CO2 emissions by half each decade and reach a net zero position by 2045. In 2019, global CO2 emissions reached a staggering 37 billion tons of CO2. Reducing that by half, or reducing by 18.5 billion tons, would mean to reduce by an equivalent of 7.5 billion fossil fuel powered cars. For the record, there is only about 1.5 billion cars on the roads today. So, At a first glance, this seems like an overwhelming challenge. A challenge that would mean that we would need to change our way of living and way of thinking quite substantially. And one would also be tempted to think that it will cost a lot to address this challenge. An important aspect of sustainability is actually to do more with less. And that is, in fact, the very definition of productivity. So, by definition, sustainability and productivity, they go hand in hand.